Have you ever felt like someone is living in your head, rent-free, but they haven't texted, called, or even looked your way in forever? You wake up thinking about him. You go to bed wondering if he's thinking about you. And the silence, it's loud, deafening. You try to shake him off, distract yourself, even convince yourself it's nothing, but he's still there. So what does it really mean when a guy is constantly on your mind, even though he's not talking to you? No, it's not just you being crazy. And it's not just some cliche about overthinking. What you're experiencing could be a complex mix of emotional imprinting, subconscious bonding, and yes, even energetic ties that most people don't talk about. This isn't about waiting for a text. It's about understanding what your brain and heart are doing behind the scenes and why. Because here's the truth. When someone leaves a psychological or spiritual imprint on you, silence can still feel like a conversation. And sometimes the louder their absence feels, the deeper their presence is rooted in your emotions. But don't worry, this video is not about obsessing. It's about clarity. You'll learn the deeper reasons he's always on your mind and whether it means anything at all. So if you're stuck in that loop, wondering, hoping, analyzing every bit of nothing, stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll either understand the connection or finally feel ready to let it go. Let's get into it. Silence from someone you care about can be one of the most confusing and painful experiences. When a guy goes quiet, especially if he used to be present or seemed emotionally connected, it triggers questions you can't stop asking yourself. Did you do something wrong? Is he mad? Did he lose interest? Or is he just not ready to talk? But here's what most people miss. Silence doesn't always mean indifference. Sometimes silence is communication, just in a language we're not used to interpreting. It can mean avoidance, emotional overwhelm, fear, or even guilt. Some men shut down when they don't know how to process their emotions. Others stay silent because they're unsure of what they want. And instead of being honest, they pull away, hoping you'll get the hint without them having to speak up. Then there's the deeper layer, when his silence has nothing to do with you, but it feels intensely personal. He might be dealing with personal issues, internal battles, or his own emotional baggage that makes showing up feel too vulnerable. His silence might be his version of protection, not just for himself, but for you too. And sometimes his silence is the message. He may have made a silent decision to distance himself, not because you're unworthy, but because he's either unwilling or unable to give you the emotional clarity you deserve. The hardest part is that silence forces you to do all the emotional labor. You fill in the blanks, create the narrative, and absorb the pain while he remains comfortably unavailable. But here's what you must remember. How someone communicates during emotional tension says a lot about how they handle intimacy, responsibility, and respect. If he's gone quiet without offering context, closure, or care, that silence is not just absence, it's information. You're not crazy for noticing it. You're not too emotional for feeling it. His silence has weight and is trying to tell you something he won't say out loud. The question is, will you keep waiting for a voice that may never return, or will you listen to what the silence is showing you? Let's go deeper. When someone is constantly on your mind, it's almost impossible not to wonder, are they thinking about me too? It's one of the most haunting questions we ask in silence, especially when there's no communication, no interaction, just this invisible thread that feels so real, so persistent. The truth is, we often feel energetically connected to people for reasons we don't fully understand. Emotional bonds, even those that aren't mutual anymore, can linger. You might be tuned into a pattern, a memory loop, replaying moments and emotions, because your brain is trying to make sense of unfinished business. But that doesn't automatically mean he's feeling the same thing. Still, there are times when the connection is mutual, even if it's unspoken. Some people do feel that magnetic pull at the same time, but here's the tricky part. Men often process emotions differently. While you might reflect, analyze, and seek emotional meaning, he might compartmentalize, distract, or suppress what he's feeling. So even if he does think about you, he may not act on it. Thinking about someone doesn't always come with intention. He might remember you in passing, feel a sudden wave of nostalgia, or even wonder what could have been, but without the emotional courage to reach out. It stays locked inside. Sometimes his silence is fear, sometimes it's pride, and sometimes it's peace. And this is where you take your power back. Instead of asking, is he thinking of me? Ask yourself, why does it matter? If he's not showing up, if he's not speaking up, then all the wondering becomes a trap. Your value shouldn't be tied to someone else's silence or speculation. Yes, there's a chance he thinks of you. People rarely forget genuine connections. But don't confuse mental presence with emotional investment. The real question is, if he's thinking of you, why hasn't he done anything about it? What you feel is real, but that doesn't mean it's reciprocated in the way you deserve. Let's talk about the psychology behind those silent connections and why your brain can hold on even when your heart is ready to let go. Keep watching. Have you ever felt like someone is connected to you, even without speaking a single word? Like there's an invisible line running between your heart and theirs, pulsing with unspoken emotion. That feeling isn't just fantasy. It has deep psychological roots. When we form emotional bonds, especially romantic ones, our brains create what's called an attachment map. This is where someone becomes embedded into your emotional and cognitive patterns. Their presence, their words, their energy, it all leaves a psychological imprint. So even if they go silent, your mind continues to play their part in your story. It's why you find yourself replaying conversations, daydreaming about them, or thinking about what you'd say if you ever talked again. That's not weakness. It's literally your brain trying to complete an emotional circuit that never got closure. Silent connections often thrive on uncertainty. In psychology, this is known as intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle behind addictive behavior. When you receive affection, interest, or connection in small, inconsistent doses, followed by sudden silence, your brain becomes obsessed with the reward. You crave the high of being noticed again, not because it's healthy, but because the unpredictability makes you chase it even harder. That's the trap. Now here's another layer. Mirror neurons. These are parts of your brain that activate when you observe someone else's emotions, or even think about them. That's why you can feel what someone might be feeling, even without seeing them. If you've ever suddenly felt anxious, nostalgic, or overwhelmed while thinking about him, your mirror neurons are lighting up as if he's right there. It creates the illusion that you're both sharing a moment, even when you're alone. This is why silent connections can feel so intense, even more than active ones. There's mystery, projection, and emotional residue all wrapped into one. You're not just missing the person, you're holding on to what the connection could have been or what you believed it was. And that's incredibly powerful. But here's the truth you need to hear. Not every emotional bond is meant to be permanent. Some connections are designed to teach you something about yourself, your patterns, your needs, your growth. Silent connections can be signals, not destinations. They ask you to pay attention to the parts of yourself that long to be seen, heard, and chosen. Not just by someone else, but by you. So if you're stuck in the energy of someone who isn't speaking, take a step back and ask, is this connection feeding you or draining you? Are you still connecting with him or with a memory you haven't let go? Understanding the psychology behind this gives you back your power. It's not about decoding him. It's about reclaiming you. Let's keep going. There's more beneath the surface than you think. Sometimes the hardest truth to face is this. The reason he's always on your mind might have very little to do with him and everything to do with you. When someone pulls away, goes silent, or disappears from your life, the mind naturally scrambles for answers. It creates meaning, searches for closure, and desperately wants to know why. But the more time you spend looping through his silence, the more you need to ask yourself, what exactly am I holding on to? Often, we aren't clinging to the person. We're clinging to the feeling they once gave us. The way they made us feel seen, wanted, desirable, or hopeful. That emotional high becomes addictive. So even when they're no longer around, your mind replays those feelings like a highlight reel, hoping to recreate the sense of validation you once felt in their presence. But here's the truth. He might not even be worthy of that pedestal. What you're really craving isn't him. It's a part of yourself that you've outsourced. Maybe his attention made you feel valuable. Maybe his presence gave you a sense of purpose. And now that he's gone, it feels like a piece of you left with him. That feeling, that emptiness, it's a signal, a mirror. It's pointing you back to places in yourself that still need healing, recognition, and unconditional love. Because sometimes when someone is always on your mind, it's not because of who they are. It's because of what they reflect back to you. This is where radical self-honesty comes in. Ask yourself, why this person? Why now? What unmet need or unresolved wound did this connection awaken in me? Was it loneliness? Was it fear of abandonment? Was it the belief that love must be chased to be earned? When we pause and dig into those questions, we often discover the obsession isn't about missing them. It's about trying to fill a void that existed long before they arrived. And no amount of thinking about them, missing them, or romanticizing what could have been will truly satisfy that. What will? Reconnecting with yourself, rebuilding your identity without their presence in it, learning to give yourself the very love, reassurance, and attention you were hoping they'd provide. Healing begins when you stop trying to get an answer from someone who isn't speaking, and instead start listening to what your own silence is telling you. You're not broken because you care. You're not weak because you think of him. But you are powerful enough to take your mind off of him and put it back where it belongs, on you. Let's talk about how emotional imprints and energetic ties form, and why they're so hard to break. Have you ever wondered why it's so hard to stop thinking about someone, even when they've been gone for a long time? Even when there's no communication, no resolution, just this lingering emotional pull that refuses to fade. That's not your imagination. It's something deeply rooted in the emotional and energetic blueprint of how we connect as human beings. When you emotionally bond with someone, especially through vulnerability, intimacy, or even intense unspoken feelings, you leave behind what psychologists call an emotional imprint. It's a mental and emotional signature that gets stored in your nervous system. These imprints are formed through meaningful moments, a deep conversation, a shared laugh, a glance that said everything without words. They may seem small, but your mind records them like emotional snapshots. And the stronger the emotion attached to that moment, the deeper the imprint. This is why certain people feel unforgettable. It's not always about how long they were in your life. It's about how deeply they touched you while they were, even if things ended or faded out. That emotional energy can remain stored within you, resurfacing at random times and keeping them alive in your memory. Now let's go even deeper. Energetic ties. Some believe that when we connect with someone on an emotional or intimate level, we create energetic cords between us. These aren't visible, of course, but they're felt. You might feel their emotions without reason. Think of them randomly, dream about them, or feel drained or anxious for no obvious cause, only to realize your mind wandered back to them. Energetic ties form through emotional exchanges, especially ones that are unresolved. When there's no closure, no full release, that energy has nowhere to go. It lingers like a song playing quietly in the background of your life. And unless you consciously cut those cords, emotionally and energetically, they can stay attached far longer than the person ever did. But here's the empowering part. Just as emotional imprints and energetic cords can be created, they can also be released. It doesn't require them to come back or give you closure. It requires you to acknowledge the imprint, honor it, and decide it no longer gets to dictate your present. You don't have to carry around pieces of someone who couldn't stay. You don't have to keep reliving moments in your head just because they once meant something. You can love what it was and still let go of what it's no longer meant to be. Because the truth is, you're not stuck with this connection. You're just emotionally attached to a story that's already ended. In the next part, let's explore how you may be subconsciously keeping this connection alive, and what it means to energetically manifest someone without even realizing it. Manifestation is a term we hear a lot these days. But what does it really mean when it comes to someone who's constantly on your mind? Could it be that without even realizing it, you're actually drawing him back into your life, not through texts or calls, but through your thoughts, emotions, and energy? When you think about someone repeatedly, especially with strong emotions attached, whether longing, hope, or even frustration, you're sending out a powerful energetic signal. Our minds don't just process thoughts. They influence the way we perceive reality. This is the core idea behind subconscious manifestation. It's not magic, but it's also not just coincidence. It's about the energy and focus you put into someone, which subtly shifts your actions, feelings, and even the opportunities that come your way. If you find yourself daydreaming about him, imagining how things could be different, or holding on to the hope that he'll come back, you're constantly tuning your energy to the idea of him. That doesn't mean you're consciously trying to manifest him, but your subconscious mind is aligning with that desire, creating a feedback loop that keeps him present in your life in some form. This loop can be tricky though, because manifestation isn't just about positive thinking. It's about emotional energy. And sometimes that energy is mixed with fear, insecurity, or neediness. Those feelings can actually create blocks, making it harder to move on or attract healthy connections. So if you're subconsciously manifesting him, it might be more about wanting closure, validation, or the feeling of being wanted, rather than the person himself. Another key aspect is belief. Do you truly believe that he's meant for you? Or are you holding on to an idealized version of him? A story you tell yourself because it feels safer than accepting the truth. Manifestation works best when your energy is clear and aligned with reality, not with fantasies or emotional dependencies. The good news is you have the power to shift this. By becoming aware of your thoughts and feelings, you can start to change your energy. Practice focusing on self-love, gratitude, and your own goals instead of on the idea of him. When your energy shifts from I need him to I deserve peace and happiness, you break the subconscious cycle. Remember, manifestation isn't about controlling others or forcing outcomes. It's about aligning yourself with what truly serves your growth and happiness. If he's meant to be part of your life, it will happen naturally and healthily. But if he's not, the best manifestation you can create is the strength to let go and open yourself to new possibilities. So ask yourself, are you manifesting him? Or are you manifesting healing and freedom from this mental loop? That's where your true power lies. When someone stays constantly on your mind, especially without any contact, it can feel like more than just a mental obsession. For many, this experience carries a deep spiritual significance, a message that goes beyond the surface of everyday thinking. Spiritually, persistent thoughts about someone are often interpreted as a sign that your soul is trying to communicate with you. It's as if your inner self is nudging you to pay attention, not just to the person, but to the lessons and growth that connection represents. Sometimes when someone lingers in your mind, it's less about them and more about the journey you're on. This kind of recurring mental presence can signal unfinished business on an energetic level, things left unsaid, emotions left unprocessed, or paths that need healing. It's like the universe is holding up a mirror, reflecting back parts of yourself that you might be avoiding. The person you're thinking about becomes a symbol of those hidden aspects, inviting you to explore and integrate them. From a spiritual perspective, such thoughts can also indicate energetic ties that transcend physical presence. Souls can connect across lifetimes or parallel journeys, creating bonds that are felt even when separated by distance or silence. These spiritual connections don't always mean romantic fate or destined reunions. Sometimes they are soul lessons meant to teach detachment, self-love, or forgiveness. The key is to recognize what this constant mental presence is asking of you. Is it calling you to heal old wounds, to forgive yourself or someone else, to release control and surrender to what's meant for your highest good? Often, the answer lies in shifting from mental fixation to mindful awareness, observing the thoughts without judgment, and allowing the spiritual messages to emerge naturally. Meditation, journaling, or energy healing can help deepen this process, opening you up to insights that your busy mind can't access alone. When you embrace the spiritual meaning behind these persistent thoughts, you transform them from a source of pain or confusion into a pathway for growth and empowerment. It's also important to remember that not every persistent thought is a cosmic sign. Sometimes the mind clings simply because it's trying to protect you from pain or loneliness. Distinguishing between emotional attachment and spiritual guidance takes practice and patience. Ultimately, the spiritual meaning of constantly thinking about someone invites you to become more conscious of your inner world. It asks you to listen deeply to the emotions, the messages, and the wisdom beneath the surface. When you do, you reclaim your power, turning what once felt like a mental trap into a gateway for healing and transformation. So, if he's always on your mind, consider what your soul might be trying to tell you. The answer might be closer than you think. Being stuck in a thought loop about someone, especially when they're not talking to you, can feel like an endless maze. Your mind keeps running the same scenes, the same what-ifs and the same feelings over and over, leaving you exhausted, anxious, and stuck in a place that feels impossible to escape. But here's the good news. You can break free from this cycle. The first step in breaking the thought loop is awareness. You have to recognize when you're caught in it. Often these loops happen unconsciously. Your brain automatically revisits memories, replays conversations, or imagines future scenarios without you even realizing. Becoming aware of this pattern is crucial because it gives you the power to interrupt it. Once you notice you're spiraling, try gently redirecting your focus. This isn't about forcefully pushing thoughts away. That can make them come back stronger, but about consciously choosing to engage with something else. It might be a physical activity like walking, exercising, or cooking. Or it could be a mental shift, diving into a hobby, reading a book, or practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness in particular is a powerful tool here. Instead of battling your thoughts, mindfulness teaches you to observe them without judgment. You acknowledge the thought, "He's on my mind again," and then gently bring yourself back to the present moment. This simple act of observing without reacting creates space between you and the thought, reducing its grip. Another key strategy is setting intentional boundaries around your thinking. Give yourself a designated worry time each day, say 10 or 15 minutes, where you allow yourself to process these thoughts fully. Outside of that window, remind yourself that you've given your mind permission to hold these thoughts, and it can rest now. This technique trains your brain to compartmentalize and prevents constant rumination. Journaling can also help. Writing down your thoughts and feelings releases their power. It turns abstract, swirling emotions into something concrete and manageable. Plus, it gives you clarity on what you're really feeling beneath the surface, whether it's sadness, fear, or longing, which is the first step toward healing. Finally, self-compassion is essential. Breaking a thought loop is hard work. It takes patience and kindness toward yourself. Instead of beating yourself up for overthinking or feeling stuck, remind yourself that healing is a process. Celebrate small wins, like moments when you successfully shift your attention, or resist the urge to replay painful memories. Remember, breaking free from the thought loop doesn't mean forgetting him overnight or erasing your feelings. It means reclaiming control over your mind, choosing peace over chaos, and creating room for new, healthier experiences. You have the strength to do this. It starts with one moment, one breath, one choice. Let's move into how to create lasting emotional freedom beyond the thought loop. As we wrap up, let's focus on the most important thing, your healing and growth. If he's always on your mind but never talking to you, it's easy to feel stuck, confused, or even powerless. But remember, you hold the key to your peace and happiness, not him. Moving forward means shifting your energy from waiting for answers to creating your own fulfillment. Start by prioritizing yourself, your dreams, your passions, your emotional well-being. When you invest in yourself, you send a clear message to yourself and the universe that you deserve love, respect, and joy, regardless of anyone else's actions. It's okay to feel the emotions that come with this process, sadness, frustration, longing, but don't let them define you. Feel deeply, then release intentionally. Surround yourself with supportive people who uplift and encourage you, and create space for new experiences that expand your sense of self beyond this connection. Remember that true closure doesn't always come from him. Sometimes it comes from within. Forgive yourself for holding on, forgive him for not being present, and most importantly, forgive yourself for being human. As you move forward, keep this in mind. The thoughts that once trapped you can become guides showing you what you truly want and deserve. Use them as motivation to build the life and love that reflect your worth. You are stronger than your thoughts, bigger than your fears, and more deserving than you realize. This isn't the end, it's the beginning of your next chapter, full of clarity, peace, and self-love. Thank you for trusting yourself enough to watch this far. Keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining.